Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're doing a movie review of a movie suggested by one of my viewers, one of my #1 OG fans, Nuria. I'll link her social down in the description so you can guys go check her out. But she wanted me to review the movie Alien Covenant, which is part of the Alien series that started in 1979 and now spans over 6 movies, I believe. Alien Covenant came out in 2017 and is the most recent rendition we have of the Alien series. Just like the original Alien movie, it's directed by Ridley Scott, and also just like the Alien movie, the main writer is Dan O'Bannon. So we have 2 of the original people who made the Alien movie writing and directing this film, but there was still a lot of controversy when this movie came out. Now, as some of you may or may not know, this movie is supposed to be the prequel of the Alien movie. It's basically supposed to show us how the aliens came to be. But this isn't the first prequel for the Alien series. It is kind of like a follow-up prequel to the movie Prometheus, which came out in 2012. Full disclaimer, I have not seen Prometheus. I had no real interest in seeing it when it came out. I am a fan of the Alien franchise. It's one of my mom's favorite movies, so I've seen Alien countless times. She has like the first 4, I think, and I've seen all of them. But when it came to Prometheus, it had such mixed reviews. I wasn't entirely sold on the idea and didn't make a point to go out and watch it. And I was kind of the same way about this movie. It just had such mixed reviews, and I never got an opportunity to watch it, so I never did. And then whenever Nuria suggested I watch it for one of my videos, I started looking into just how people reacted to these 2 prequels to the infamous Alien movie, and I can understand why there is such mixed reviews. Now, for those of you who maybe haven't seen the original Alien, or maybe it's been a little while, hi. The first movie centers around a crew on a spaceship, as all Alien movies do, and they find this species of alien that ends up attacking the ship, and come to find out that they were sent there to collect this species against their knowledge, and they find out that basically that the human lives were expendable, and the robot Ash, who isn't revealed to be a robot till like the close middle end of the movie, was told to bring back the alien species at whatever cost it took, even if that meant sacrificing the human life. So we don't really get the backstory on why these aliens exist, or why the government overshadowing this mission knows about the aliens, and then pretty much all the other movies are just different interactions we have with this alien species. So the movie Prometheus and then Alien Covenant were supposed to kind of show us how the alien species came to be. Now, with the Prometheus movie, from what I've read, it was more about the engineers, or the overall godlike beings that create life on different planets. And again, I haven't seen the movie, so I apologize if some of this is like misinformation, or maybe I interpreted something wrong. I did look up like the summary of the movie, the plot, and like what went behind it. And from what I've gathered, these engineers are kind of like just a creature, a species that goes around, lands on planets, and then births a new species onto them. And they kind of just fly from planet to planet, basically putting life on planets. And Peter Weyland, who is just a regular human, he's the CEO of Weyland Corporation. That is the corporation that makes all these robots that are always on one of the ships in all the Alien movies. And in the Prometheus and Alien Covenant movies, we focus mainly on Walter and David, 2 aliens who are pretty much identical. The only differentiator is that Walter speaks American English and David speaks like the Queen's English, so one has an accent and one doesn't. So Weyland sends David, his robot, out to try to find these engineers because Weyland wants to be able to live forever. He wants immortality as a human, and knowing that humans were created by these engineers, he thinks if I can get in contact with them, they can show me how to be immortal. So he creates this robot, David, to try to kind of help him and do the dirty work. So David already has an underlying evil tone to him. And in the Prometheus movie, we see David on the spaceship with other doctors and another crew. They find this planet where the engineers were kind of existing. They land there, a bunch of shit goes down, and essentially most of the engineers on the planet get just completely eradicated, and David uses the bodies of the crew members and the engineers to try to create his own perfect species. So the prequels have a very like Frankenstein-esque kind of storyline to them of I was created by this guy and now I'm becoming self-aware and trying to create my own monster that's going to be even bigger and better. So David, even though he is a robot controlled by Weyland Corporation, stays on this planet after killing off all the engineers and the own crew that he came with, and basically uses their bodies as a host to try to come up with his own ultimate species. And from what I've seen, like bridging the gaps between the two movies, basically David's trying to come up with his own ultimate species to take over the world. But what's confusing and what has a lot of people upset is the fact that David is a robot who became like self-aware or whatever and is now trying to create his own species to be the ultimate species, but that's pretty much just what the humans did by creating the robots that David is like a part of, and that's what the engineers are kind of doing. So there's all these layers of like one species thinking that they can top the other one and trying to take over the world with their ultimate species takeover. It's the kind of thing that can be very easily missed if you don't really pay attention and keep tabs on who is who. They bounce around and show you so many different things and so many different like leaders and people without giving you the full backstory that it's very understandable as to why people were so upset and confused whenever these movies came out. So these movies, the movie Prometheus and then Alien Covenant, were created to try to show us the backstory behind how the aliens came to be, but really only raise more questions as to why David the robot, who's supposed to be under the control of Weyland's corporation, decide to make his own alien species to try to take over the galaxy. Why is David the robot having these emotional kind of conundrums where he's sort of in love with the doctor he came to the the planet with, but then he sacrifices her and uses her body to try to come up with these alien species? Just the whole thing seems very confusing, and it's part of the reason that people aren't in love with these prequels and don't feel like they've done the Alien franchise justice. And in the movie Alien Covenant, whenever David is confronted with the question of why did you create these alien creatures, something that is so dangerous to humans, he basically said, well, because I could. And that was sort of the same reason he was given for being created by Weyland Corporation, and the same sort of idea of why the engineers create what they do. It's just simply because they could. So there's that underlying theme of, you know, humans tend to make things and do dangerous things because we can, you know, making something like an atomic bomb because we can, not necessarily because it's what's right for the earth or right for humans, but because it's something we can do. So there's an underlying tone and sort of a theme throughout that's just showing the destruction of humans and how humans will take their knowledge and create something that they aren't fully aware of yet, and how we have a tendency as just a species to do very damaging things without thinking about the long-term outcome. So it's kind of preaching to you in that sense, along with trying to give you the backstory for the aliens and why they exist, and it feels like a lot of themes being kind of thrown at you. A lot of the reviews that I read agreed with this point of this movie is trying to showcase just the dangers of humans and how humans create things that we aren't fully aware of their whole capacity of power, and how it ends up kind of causing the downfall of humans. It's not a theme that we've never seen before. It's kind of considered one of humanity's biggest flaws, so it's a very easy target. And it's a little bit disappointing that that's the underlying theme for such badass alien creatures. And the Alien movies are based on novels as well, and there are some discrepancies between the books versus the movies. I've never read any of the books, and I also don't even know like how many there are, but I do know that things like in the book, David sees the engineers creating these sort of alien creatures and bases his creatures off of that. But in the movie, they make it seem like David's the sole creator of these aliens, the xenomorphs, the face huggers. You know, it makes David seem like the overall creator, whenever in the book it seems more like the engineers were working on a species like this and David just sort of took their ideas. And the Alien Covenant movie is supposed to take place about 17 years before the original Alien movie, and in Alien Covenant, David and Walter are the two robots, and they, like I said, are completely identical except for basically their accent. Walter is sort of the newer version of David. He's got better upgrades, he heals faster, stuff like that. And in the end, David ends up taking Walter's place, and it's like the main characters don't figure this out until like the very end, that Walter is actually David, and David doesn't have the best intention for humanity. So it's like a weird plot twist at the end of this movie that was already kind of weird and not giving you the information that you needed. It almost gave us all this information about the aliens. We kind of learn how David created them, but we still don't fully like learn how they, you know, were spreading across the galaxy. Like we see him storing away the embryos at the end, but it feels almost like the end of the story of how the aliens came to be versus the beginning. And I think that's what people wanted. We wanted more of the beginning. We wanted to, even just a movie being able to see David, experimenting and creating the alien species, to see him eliminating the engineers like this. That's more of kind of what I would figure a origin story for Alien would be, and this is the movie that we got. I saw a lot of mixed reviews, as I said. Even the good reviews that I were finding do acknowledge that this movie isn't as strong as it could be. The movie only made about $150 million more than what it cost to make, so it wasn't like it was doing great box office sales. It actually performed worse than they originally had thought. And I read that they weren't even going to have aliens in this movie. The prequel, Prometheus, didn't have as many of the aliens. It was more of the backstory on the engineers, and a lot of the audience members were kind of a little bit upset about this. They voiced their opinions that they want to see the aliens, they want to see the creepy creatures, the xenopaths, everything, the face huggers. They want all of it because that's what the Alien series is so based around. So this movie was supposed to not even contain as many aliens as it did, but because of the feedback from the 2012 movie, they were like, well, shit, I guess we have to add more aliens in. So the fact that the script was reworked just based on audience feedback shows that the backstory wasn't as well thought out as maybe it could have been. And it just feels like they're trying to make a point about humanity and just how humans are so destructive and what we do when we do things without realizing it. It feels more preachy towards humanity, and it's just repeating themes that we've seen over and over again. It's not giving us anything new. And one of the things I had the biggest issue with accepting is why David, a robot, would want to play God in this sense. We do see kind of a little beginning with him with Wayland, whenever David's basically created, and Wayland's like, I created you, I'm not really your father, I'm just your creator. And David's kind of going through this existential thing, and it sort of sets up this whole idea of David wanting to create his own species, but we don't know enough about the robots. We don't know why the robots do what they do. And I even tried just looking up why are there robots in the Alien series, and really all I could find was because Wayland Corporation made it so. And unless this is information better explained in Prometheus that I just didn't really get into, it doesn't give me a lot of backstory just on the robots themselves and why the robots can become so self-aware. I thought the whole point of having robots was just for them to do our bidding. If the robots become self-aware and gain all these emotions, that's just again another retired theme that we've seen. We've seen robots who become self-aware and who suddenly don't want to do whatever they're told. They want to be able to help humans, and we see that a little bit in the other Alien movies where the robots do sort of feel for humanity and they want to help the humans. So it's again a theme that the Alien franchise has done already, and now they're just doing it to the extreme. It's nothing new. So it just doesn't feel like a big grand reveal about these aliens like I was hoping it would be. It's more it just raises more questions about the robots than anything else. And another thing I read is people were really just irritated with how stupid the crew seems to be. They get super close and up personal with foreign species and objects. They do things that the ship says this probably isn't a good idea. They're kind of just, the entire movie kind of seems like them making bad decisions. And when I was reading about this, that's something a lot of people kept bringing up. Why is the crew so stupid? Why are they doing such stupid things? Especially if in the Prometheus movie, they've already seen all this stuff go bad. Why are they repeating it? And from what I read, it's supposed to be that the crew members and the embryos, the humans that they're bringing to this different planet to restart human life, are not the most intelligent and not the most forward when it comes to fighting, because the corporation didn't want basically humans who were going to sort of fight back. They wanted more submissive, stupid people. So that's why the whole crew, even though they're obviously smart enough to operate a ship, don't make the best decisions and aren't the best fighters. They slip around in blood and water, they're clumsy. They just don't seem to really have their shit together, and that was intentional, which also helps play a part in the role of humans doing things that we're not entirely even sure of what the outcome is going to be. So really this movie just feels like it's shitting all over people and humanity, and not really giving us the answers for the aliens that we wanted. So I went into this movie being told it's gonna be kind of explaining how the aliens got there. And it feels more here's why humans suck. and here's this robot that created these aliens because he wanted to try to take over the world. It just doesn't feel like it's as satisfying of an explanation as I was hoping for it to be, and a lot of people sort of seem to agree with that. The movie has some beautiful, cinematography. The graphics that go in and out with, it's pretty much all CGI, which is sort of a crippling thing, I feel like, for movies these days, because it becomes so CGI, it feels really fake. Aliens in the 1979 version felt more real than the aliens in this version. I guess as a technical standpoint, it's not a bad movie, but as far as the story goes, I'm not impressed, I'm not surprised. It felt very predictable. It was a 2-hour-long movie as well, and there were certain scenes that just seemed to draw on for so long that I felt like the movie didn't need to be 2 hours. And a lot of people also said that the movie had more sexual undertones to it. David and Walter are played by the same person, and yet David tries to seduce almost the character of Walter. So there's these weird sexual scenes that aren't sexual but are kind of sexual. And it's supposed to make the audience uncomfortable, and just, I don't even know. It just felt silly. The movie has almost a comical tone to it at some points that you're this is sort of ridiculous, which again plays into the whole humanity thing, but I don't know, it feels like too many ideas happening at once. It's definitely not my favorite of the series. I think we could have gone without having any prequel to the Alien movies and probably would have been just as fine. Stuff like this can come very close to feeling like a cash grab, especially once you get up into the 5 and 6 number count for movies. It almost feels like the story starts to waver away from the original, and it becomes more about how can we make more money off of this franchise, especially since it's been years since we had an Alien movie. So it just makes this movie feel more like we needed money and this is how we could make money, versus we wanted to really give you more in depth about the story. Now, super big Alien fans might love this movie and might love the backstory, and I was reading a lot of fan pages and people kind of better explaining just the backstory of the engineers and David and the Weyland Corporation. And the people who are really into this do understand it better. I don't understand all of the logistics of everything. It's been a while since I've seen all the other Alien movies, so they're not as fresh in my mind. It's not, one of my favorites, so I don't obsess over it like I do some other movies. So there could be things that I'm just glossing over, or I just misinterpreted, or, I just didn't understand, and that's totally fine. That alone, a movie shouldn't have to be consumed by people who know everything to be able to be enjoyed. And as someone who hadn't seen Prometheus, and it's been a while since I've seen the other Alien movies, I was still able to understand what was happening, but it didn't really feel like part of the Alien family. It really kind of felt just like someone took the ideas of Alien and then tried to make it into a backstory. It feels more like we need a movie about the robots and Weyland Corporation versus how the aliens came to be. I want to see how David created the aliens. I want to see how he took them around. What's the 17-year gap between now and the other Alien movie? How did he spread the aliens throughout space? That's the kind of information I was hoping for, and that's not what I got. I got just more confusion than anything. So this could just be me not understanding all the logistics of the Alien movie, or it just could be that this movie didn't hit the mark like it was supposed to. It doesn't waver my love of the Alien series and those face huggers. Who wouldn't love a face hugger? But it's definitely not what I was expecting as a prequel or an explanation for the Alien movies, and I'm kind of interested to see what they do, because there is rumors that they're working on another script. As early as 2019, it's been confirmed that another script is in the process of being written, so maybe in the next 2 or 3 years we'll get another Alien movie that maybe bridges that gap between the prequels and the first one. We'll kind of just have to wait and see. But what are your guys' opinions on this movie? If you're a bigger Alien fan and you kind of know more, I'd love to hear what you have to say. You can leave a comment down below or head over to my Instagram, What a Horror. I'll be making a post about this video as well. But I hope I didn't insult too many Alien fans if I got information wrong. I am not perfect, and like I said, I haven't seen the original movies in a while, and I've never seen Prometheus, so there might be stuff that I'm missing or things that I just didn't get. I'm open to criticism if you have it for me. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. I put out new videos every Friday. And until next time, stay spooky.